first instance, it was way off the mark. So
yeah,
I don't know how much we can draw from this, really.
Yeah, honestly, I'm just hoping that we won't see another 7-0. Obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if it were to happen. Obviously, first match, extremely surgical stuff coming out from the likes of Brown Esports to claim themselves that 7-0 victory. And then second match for the win versus Spoit, 7-0 as well. And hopefully, yeah, this time around it may be just a bit more streamlined, a bit more evened out, in case of you guys haven't necessarily been as knowledgeable with what is going on surrounding the entire Rainbow Six Siege scene at this particular tier. 4 Elements unfortunately just suffered a loss during the Clutch Rainbow Six event, and they made it all the way to the grand finals, which was definitely a really, really amazing feat, although they suffered a loss against Imagine 11, in which they managed to snag themselves a total of 3 rounds across Oregon and Consulate. So obviously this time around they're kind of looking to redeem themselves in the ACS League.
Yeah, they really are. And just to double down on that, they played a game yesterday in the Benelux bi-weeklies. They made it to the grand final there, and they also lost. They took at least a map off of Sector 1. They managed to win on Clubhouse, and that is key, because we will be going to Clubhouse later, or today, in fact, as we're going to bring up the map bans right now to see how that panned out earlier. Of course, teams are well prepared. They've done this in advance, and we are going to Clubhouse, but you'll get to see how exactly that panned out earlier. So Oregon and Consulate going off the board. Coastline then next up for UMX Gaming, apologies. Cafe, and then Theme Park and Villa, the final 2 bans, leaving us with yet another Clubhouse game. And I mean, I'm hoping it's not going to be a 7-0 again, just for entertainment's sake.
Yeah.
But if this is going to be a 7-0, I don't know who it's going to be in favor of. That was a very silly point to make. I don't know who's going to win this in general.
I personally don't know either, but obviously, as you stated, 4 Elements, having that experience going against the likes of Sector 1 in the bi-weekly finals of BNL, it's a pretty huge feat. Obviously, Sector 1, they're no slouch. They're a top-tier team. And if you manage to take Clubhouse, a well-known map and a really played-out map away from the likes of a team such as Sector 1, then you know that you've earned yourself those bragging rights. And I think that 4 Elements are certainly more than comfortable to take UMX Gaming and maybe give them a taste of their own medicine on the exact same map.
As we all know here at ACS, our wonderful Gunny, he is a weeb, and make sure that you let everyone else in the Twitch chat know that.
Yeah.
As says, or cares rather, let us know in all chat just there. He's a clearly well-informed man. So, and a man of culture.
Speaking of which, I'm actually curious, can our producer confirm if there is a hashtag Gunny is a weeb and the scrolling text at the bottom? Because I remember it being present there during the grand finals of the previous season. And apparently our producer can confirm that he will put hashtag Gunny is a weeb in the scrolling text, just to make everyone happy about that.
And just to make sure of it, our wonderful observer has managed to put it in the chat as well. Yes. Lovely. A ban phase just happened. Maverick, Hibana, Kaid, and Mirror, the ones off the board there. And I think, similar to the last match, that Maverick gone does mean that the juggling of utility is a bit more interesting, especially with the Bandit making it through this time. Kaid being banned out as well makes it somewhat more plausible for the attackers to get certain entryways open. I'm thinking of... for instance, the garage walls on a cash push, and those hatches on a church push as well, which has some basement push. So looks like we're getting that scrolling text up for you right now. Should be lovely and updated. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.5. Well, there we go. Gunny is a weeb.
Gunny is a weeb. There we are.
You love to see it. All right.
Everyone loves it.
So here we go.
CCTV cache is going to be where we're starting off this time. It's just repeating itself in the scrolling text. That is lovely. Hats off to our lovely producer, Jake. Oh man, what a legend. What a legend for making little boys' dreams come true.
That he is. Anyway, let's move forward. 4 Element is going to be are going to be defending first, and it's a cash defense. As you were saying in the previous matchup, statistically the best defensive site on this map. Do you think that 4 Elements are going to take this? I think with the castle employed in a very interesting manner, one that I haven't seen really before, cutting off that sight line, which is a crucial sight line from outside main into lounge, and as well as this one here, from stock into lounge. Yeah, this could give the defenders a good kind of quasi anchor point in lounge itself.
Not only that, but for the majority of you guys who basically, or at least let's just say that you've watched Reaper Ian's videos on how to properly attack Clubhouse, you will know for a fact that if you get a Zofia, you walk over towards the main entrance of the building, you go prone, and then you just shoot 2 of your impacts towards where the bandit is supposed to be tricking. Then you will effectively dislodge him from his position and allow your Thermite to do his job. So obviously with Lucania, putting down that castle barricade is going to immediately deny that, and it's going to force the likes of UMX Gaming to shoot out a couple more breaching rounds or what have you to essentially get the job done just a bit slower than it's normally meant to be done.
But speaking of speed, UMX are being quite swift in this approach from the west side. They've cleared out from Jacuzzi, already got office control and almost full control of construction as well. They want to have a pinch across the site here, as surely opening that east wall will be part of their mission at some point. It usually factors in, but for the moment, Kez and Co are looking to breach construction first.
Yeah, that they are. They've already managed to establish themselves a really, really nice beachhead. And normally I would argue that pinching the entire bomb site from 2 separate points is the best way to go about it. And I believe that UMX, yeah, they have roughly 80 seconds left to rotate their Thermite all the way around the map to maybe get themselves another exothermic charge off on the CCTV. Well, it's entirely possible, but it is the right... No, it's the right thing to do in any way, shape, or form.
Rubinshu is just not paying attention as well, and they're not in position to bandit trick the wall, even though there would virtually no pressure on that position from beneath or anywhere else, and a missed opportunity potentially for the bandit, but Chris is going to at least find one onto suspended. He had a wonderful match last night, Chris, fragging out of his mind. Unfortunately, he didn't win the map, the best of 3 outright in that bi-weekly, but maybe he's looking to carry forward some of that form and momentum into this match and lead his team to victory. Henners, though, is going to shut him down just as I begin to sing his praises. We're left in a 4 versus 4 with HP advantage firmly in the attacker's favor, but time definitely on the defense's side. Smoke rains out some bullets. In fact, that's Lucania with the UMP finding the headshot. Kucha trading back on Rubinshu once more. 2 versus 3 now, and the attackers have it all to do.
Ooh, nasty shot coming out from Lucania. Diffuser has been dropped down. It's all down to Kucher, who just tries to rush on in through the breach, and he's going to be met with open arms from the likes of Rubinshu. 4 Elements taking a win, but I want to sort of throw the ball into the court of UMX. It was relatively messy because you saw that they were mounting their attack through construction primarily, but then suddenly the call came out to send their Thermite over towards the CCTV and get that breach open as quickly as possible. But to my surprise, I'm pretty sure that UMX decided to vacate the entire gym bedroom portion of the map because, if I'm not mistaken, at a certain point, I saw literally 3 players on the side of 4 Elements regain control of gym and bedroom. And that only leads me to believe that UMX's overall attack was extremely messy, dare I say a bit uncoordinated, and it bit them in the butt. And we obviously saw the Zofia at the time, who was Henners, did his best to try to retake control of bedroom and gym, but it was a bit too little too late at that certain point.
It's a little disappointing as well when you lose that kind of ground, because really that's ground that can be controlled by 2 things, and only 2 things. It can be controlled by someone passively holding an angle through the soft wall in office into construction, and the flank drone, just watching main stairs. If you've got those 2 things in place, then you don't need to worry at all about that entire gym and bedroom side of the map being retaken. And unfortunately, maybe it was just not part of UMX Gaming's setup. Maybe they hadn't thought it through or set it up like that, and they did well to sort of fill out their checklist for that round, I want to say. You know, they knew that they wanted to take construction first and then breach onto the server wall, and that worked out well for them. It was a good early round from them. But, yeah, just letting some of the pieces slide out of position, unfortunately, in the mid-round, gave 4 Elements that edge, and they just snowballed the man advantage from there.
Yeah, hopefully UMX are going to be quick to rectify their mistakes, but obviously Basement is a completely different story this time around. And I'm a bit worried for UMX to say the least, because you've only got 2 exothermic charges to work with, and you've got a lot of hard breaching to do. I'm pretty sure that UMX would literally be wishing just as hard as I am for Ace to be available right here and right now, but that's not going to be the case. So, Jerry, let's have a rundown. You've got 2 exothermic charges to work with. Where are the ideal positions where you'd actually want to place those? But suspended, though, with the opening frag onto Chris. Very nice.
Well, I'd say one of the key positions that you want to get the exothermic charge down in is Moto Hatch, because that's essentially a free hatch that's very difficult to deny without the use of a Kaid. You don't really want to be risking the exothermic charges on the kitchen hatch, which is why it's surprising that they haven't brought along a Maverick or anyone, but that Hibana ban does... Oh wait, of course Hibana and Maverick are off the board, you have mentioned this. So yeah, it is a very difficult situation for the attackers to sort of work around in this situation. I would say leave the kitchen hatch, maybe open construction and Moto. And those are the 2 that you want to ingress through. Either that or save that one for Church Wall Push. Henners is going to find one onto Sens, and Rubinchu refragging there onto Suspended. The Ash down. Not too big an issue here, as we don't see too many ADS stacks, and it's not going to be that kind of utility burn meta that we have come to know and hate. Lucania, Pangoro, and Rubinchu, the last 3 alive. They've got plenty of intel and intel denial set up as those operators, and no doubt Priz and Sens will be sitting on those cameras, yokais, etc. to make sure that they have all the intel they need. But Kucha finds Pangoro, and this is going to be looking very tough for the defensive half, for the defensive side in this final 45 seconds.
Church Wall has also been blown wide open. UMX, they have essentially free reign over the entire church bomb site, and it's all down to Rubinshu and Lucania, who still has at least 1 more yokai drone on the playing field. Nasty shot coming out from Rubinshu to shut down Henners, but Says is trying to get the diffuser down. Fortunately for him, Lucania does have something to say about that with the yokai drones, but the blast will actually miss, and the diffuser has actually gone down. This is unfortunate for 4 Elements, and now they'll have to play the retake. And UMX, they have all got their post-plant positions firmly on lockdown. Rubinshu trying to rotate around through blue to potentially get himself a better angle, as Lucania, with the impact, is trying to challenge the main staircase. He shoots out a drone, and he will find a rep. Now it's a 2v2. And he can also use that breach to his advantage. Pops around the tight corner, and also pops Says his head. He's going for the counter defuse, and it's all down to Kusher, but he will shut down Lucania before losing his own life, but there's no time. On the diffuser, Rubinshu, just a narrow second away from claiming that one, all for 4 Elements. In UMX, all thanks to the timer alone, they will take themselves an attacking round on the Basement.
Wowie, what a round right there, ladies and gentlemen. Such a back and forth thing. Rubinshu giving 4 Elements the hope in that 2 versus 4 with an incredible flicker. We saw Lucania sweeping back in, as we saw. Luckily, we have all players back in the lobby, so no need for a rehost in case you were wondering about that. But so close in the last few seconds with that diffuser. Absolutely the right call from Lucania to try and stick that and force the engagement out of the remaining player on the side of UMX, but he played that absolutely perfectly and gave Rubinshu just a little bit too much of a tall order to get the kill and then follow it up with a diffuse denial.
4 Elements were so close to getting that round onto themselves. Might be a bit disheartening, but at the exact same time, that's not going to put a stop to them. Second time's the charm. Let's see if they can actually finally get themselves a win on Basement. And I have to commend them because they're already making some really necessary adaptations to try to, prevent UMX from getting that church wall open. I'm talking about Pangoro specifically taking the charge as the bandit, and obviously UMX managed to get that church wall open with little to no contestation. If Pangoro is able to at least get one of those exothermic charges off the playing field, then you can consider it a job well done, and you can give yourself a nice pat on the back, because if UMX are going to be going for the exact same thing that they have done so previously, one of those exothermic charges is going to go on the moto hatch, and then you've got to be very careful with your last one. Specifically, Says has to be extremely cautious of what he does with his last one, and he cannot afford to let it get electrified.
We just
Pangoro shotgun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, they don't have any other shotty on their lineup, so it might have been a necessary choice for the setup that they need. But there are a couple of impacts, but ideally you want to be saving those for impact tricking. And yeah, maybe it's just one of those rare occasions where the shotgun is actually the right call, and maybe not a mistake from a
I think it's entirely the right call, because as soon as he's got that, as soon as he's actually done with that end of bandit tricking, which position is he going to actually pick up? Obviously, he's going to stay close to the vending machine or the wine fridge, whatever you would like to call it, over by that motorcycle doorway that moves towards church. And he's going to be holding down that CQB angle. Forcing out those engagements with the shotgun is going to be absolutely crucial to deny UMX entry through moto into church.
Looks like Lucania sticking with that echo. Hopefully those drones will be slightly better positioned this time around to ensure the plant goes down. But Henna's also recognizing that that danger was in place on the side of UMX, going with the IQ to try and counter it. I'm not too sure if that was before, but either way, it's there now. Sen's taking down one, and another for the defense as Chris forces the Ash of Suspended to hop up into the air in... well, what's the opposite of celebration?
I don't know. Crying yourself to sleep.
Yeah. And now we're left in the 3 versus 5. Oh, a bandit trick coming through there. Excellent job from Pangoro. And Chris shutting down Kez after he's already expended his final exothermic charge. And then now these two attackers have the likes of C4s and goo mines and just players with guns and echo drones to have to deal with. And it's going to be an absolute bloodbath as Rep's going to try and fight his way back, but Pangoro gets that kill with the pistol. It's a flawless round from 4 elements. That's the kind of turnaround they needed. A much more considered and convincing performance on that basement.
It truly was. Obviously, round number 2 was quite literally down to the wire, and this time around it was a flawless round for 4 elements. They basically just decided to take matters into their own hands and quite literally also take the gunfights directly to UMX. You have to commend Chris, because he practically played that blue position so perfectly. I mean, even though it's concerning if you're going to be wide peeking all that much, but goddamn, he can land those shots better than almost anybody I've seen. And when you're playing in that blue position, which is such a crucial piece of ground to actually hold on to, you better make damn sure that you will tap on those heads.
We have another cast defense here. Sen's rocking that one Mai to take control and keep control of Garage. Definitely a popular pick in recent times, sort of superseding the Maestro that we came to understand as the sort of default op to stick up on those rafters. Maybe a dock as well, which sometimes tag in, but the Mai just offers that sort of mid-round utility gain that no one else can in defending this very difficult to assail position. And I feel like it's rightly prized amongst defenders, because if you have that position into late round, then you get so much control over both sites, and it really is like top of the list a lot of the time for attackers to take control of. But on the side of UMX, they didn't seem too concerned with it in their last attacking round here.
No, not really. Not at all, but this time around, obviously, UMX, mistakes were made in round number 1. They kind of, to a certain degree, didn't exactly know what to do with themselves. They were busy debating exactly from which portion of the map do we start pinching this 4 elements defense. And 4 elements, as soon as the opportunity arose, they were ready to seize control and take that real estate back into their favor the moment that UMX decided to forfeit it. That, in my mind, is the main focal point for UMX. It's the main thing that they have to it's the main mistake that they have to rectify and hope that it doesn't happen yet again. And they're going to be doing the exact same thing this time around. Says is ready to drop that hatch so they can at least get this cache to construction breach wide on open before rotating back around to CCTV. Obviously, they have got to ensure that they can hold onto this piece of ground with an iron fist, because otherwise 4 Elements will find a way to exploit it.
They will. Looks like, as you mentioned, the same kind of attack coming out from UMX. Chris was one that really popped off on that first offensive round for them, and we're going to be looking to him to maybe pick this opener against Suspended. You can see the angle being held by the Ash and the Jaeger, just dancing around the possibility of this fight. Lucania taking some damage down on the bottom floor, and that wall will be opened in construction, and now it's Kez's job to rotate over to the far side and get it open. But Rubinshu taking out Suspended, he's the one to actually finally find that Ash through the fresh hole made by the Thermite, and this time he is in position to try and trick the wall.
Yeah, he is, and honestly, by the looks of it, UMX are not in the best position to try to dislodge Rubinshu from where he's currently sat at. 4 Elements, they're still maintaining control of that lounge portion of the map downstairs, but Bandit Trick, it's not accurate, and unfortunately for Rubinshu, the breach is going to be blown wide open. Elsewhere, though, Pangoro and Rep each grabbing one for their own, but still 4 Elements, they are in the driver's seat with the man advantage, as there are roughly 20 seconds left on the board right now, and UMX, they surely have to pick up the pace, because it's not really panning out all too well. Pangoro narrowly losing his head right there, but the Toxic Babes will start to get tossed out, and at this certain point, he's got enough of them to deny direct entry. Rubinshu and Kucher each grabbing one of their own, but there's only 3 seconds left, and the push comes in from the Thermite to try to stick the diffuser. Not exactly sure where Kucher is to provide coverage. He's actually on site right next to him. He'll find Kriz, and now it's all down to Sense in a 1v2. He'll surely get the shots, but no, immediately refragged out by Sez. And UMX, oh my, I'm kind of speechless. They had 5 seconds left on the clock. They didn't have the man advantage, and somehow on God's green earth, they still managed to pull out a win.
That's pretty outrageous from UMX. Honestly, that looked completely shut out by 4 Elements, and everything was going in 4 Elements' way there. Yeah. It was just bizarre that they managed to turn it round. I think I wouldn't want to call that a fluke, but it's definitely not something that UMX want to rely on in the future, because strategically they're definitely lacking on those pushes. I think there's some elements of it that they got away with that they maybe won't in the future. I'm thinking that particular the bandit tricking, it was down purely to the sort of juggling of Kez, right? There was no utility support from any of the attacking side besides just I think there was a one well-timed EMP potentially, but apart from that there was no pressure onto the East Breach, and I do think they got away with it in a sense. Rubinshu may be a bit unlucky to not find the denial there.
And not only that, I mean, on the side of UMX, you've got Henners, who's on that Zofia, and everybody knows damn well that one of those concussive shots perfectly placed through a drone hole is enough to force Rubinshu out of an animation, which is also something that they haven't necessarily been utilizing to its full potential. And as you said, UMX, they're getting away with these small things, but they can't just rely on luck twice in a row to get themselves a victory, which they, in the first place, had no business winning.
So I'm intrigued by Lucania here. He's this time around on the castle yet again and playing in lounge, but he's invested those barricades elsewhere and didn't quite catch where they were, but perhaps we'll see during the course of the round. Either way, it speaks to the fact that they know now that UMX aren't really even trying to take this bottom floor very often, and perhaps that protection is better utilized upstairs to support roamers like we see here in Kriz. And he's being droned out here. There is a player on the hatch above him, but Pangoro's going to find that first kill, securing the down with the smoke grenade. And some advanced players in the defense going to be caught out by Suspended, who takes down Pangoro, and that's smoke lost early on. A good early pick from Pangoro, but at what price?
At the price of 2 frag grenades, which didn't see the light of day on the side of Reps. So Pangoro also took 2 Toxic Babes to the grave along with him. So I guess one could argue that these are relatively even trades, but either way, 4 Elements, they're still in the driver's seat as things stand right now. 90 seconds have already been expended on the timer, and UMX, they have barely even gotten any one of those exothermic charges put to good use. And when you come across the likes of Kriz and I believe that was also Rubinshu or Lucania to get the frag.
Lucania.
It was Lucania, yeah. You find yourself in a 2v4 situation, make that a 4v1. It's all down to Sez, who just drops through the stage hatch and he gets met with some nasty 9mm shots coming out from Lucania. 4 Elements. They're 1 round away from hitting that golden number that is 4 on their defensive half.
The Cage Tiger of Lucania in that bottom floor lounge area there, picking up a 3k on the round and catapulting himself to top frag in the lobby for the time being. That's 4 Elements looking mighty fine as they've turned this one round. 2-1 down they were, and now they're 3-2 up. They will be looking to secure at least another defensive round, though, really, as this is Clubhouse.
Yes.
And we do have, I would say, defender-sided bans in that Maverick and Hibana both going off does make things a lot easier. So you should expect to gain at least 4, really. And if UMX can find another win on these attacks, then they'll be sitting pretty, I think.
Oh, they for sure. The fact that they have been able to cope with these attacker bans so far is really, really commendable. But we all remember what happened last time around, that they were attacking basement. They suffered a flawless win from 4 Elements. The only piece of real estate they actually managed to grab in their favor, in their possession, was Moto. And we saw Pangoro playing with that bandit did such an admirable job with destroying and bandit tricking the last remaining exothermic charge coming out from Sez. So this time around, statistically speaking, the 4 Elements are looking extraordinarily favored, but UMX, they have to ensure that history doesn't repeat itself. So at this certain point, what can you really do to try to avoid Pangoro and his bandit tricking? Because unless you can waltz into church, there is no realistic manner for you to actually kill that bandit, and then you will be stuck with not being able to breach open church.
I think what they might want to consider on the side of UMX is if they really prize that church breach, they've got to send in a few flashbangs, burn out a few ADSs, and then follow it up with a frag grenade. But even then, you've got to get lucky, really, onto the bandit. Maybe force him to be sitting in a particular position while you go for the breach. But there are so many exposed elements to that strategy as an attack that maybe it's possible that we'll just see UMX Gaming ignore the church wall for this time and go for a construction breach and that free moto hatch, considering that Kaid is off the board.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one. And obviously you pointed out that Rep, with 2 frag grenades in his back pocket, is very well capable of trying to toss one out onto Pangoro over that church wall. But as we all know, it's a very, very thin opening that you have to get your frag grenades through. I mean, if you haven't been practicing it in a dry run or in a custom game, odds are that that frag grenade is going to bounce back directly into your lap and you're going to effectively just commit Sudoku. But either way, 90 seconds have surpassed. UMX Gaming, they're now just commencing their verticality into this strategy. And they're trying to scout out and deal with as many electronics as possible in 4 Elements. All they've really got to do at this point is just sit tight and wait for the column.
So it looks as though they're prioritizing opening the kitchen hatch, which is going to be very difficult, especially with the impact of Scent underneath. As long as he lands a few of these, then he'll be all right. But instead, he spends the first one dealing damage to the sledge. I don't know if that's wise. And then he also backs away out of position. So he's just forgone that kitchen hatch. I mean, really, I think he might have been able to fight for it.
He definitely could have. That was... I'm not exactly sure what was crossing through his mind, not only tossing out a Pokeball free of charge, but also just forfeiting that entire position when he was perfectly capable of dealing with it. Maybe he just didn't feel comfortable being so exposed under the kitchen hatch due to all of the verticality that was opened right above him. But still, All 10 players on the playing field right now. 30 seconds left to go. The calm before the storm, and Henners, as well as Suspended, are each going to lose their lives. 4 elements still firmly in the driver's seat, but Chris, very ironically, loses his life to a grenade as Pangora creeps his way up towards the kitchen hatch. He'll find the first before Rep gets the refrag, and Rubinshu to close it off with a Nitro Cell perfectly placed will ensure that 4 elements move into the second half with a 4-2 split.
Getting maximum damage out of that C4 onto the sledge, hitting him with the 5 first from the direct impact, and then getting the full blast damage as well. Hats off to that C4, nicely placed. And in general, UMX, they were rewarded for their sort of, I guess you could call it, conservativeness and unwillingness to take those early gunfights with a very easy hold, as the entirety of oh sorry, I got my team names wrong. Of course, they've swapped, so 4 elements were rewarded with the with it, but UMX just flooding in through the kitchen hatch and exposing themselves to the multiple angles being held onto them. A nice little push up main stairs as well, going the way of the defenders, just sort of doubled down on their advantage, really. And by the sort of mid-round, or by the middle of that execute, that looked like it was completely over for 4 elements before they even lost all their lives.
Yeah. I'll have to agree with you on
the team
that
names
one.
wrong. UMX Gaming. I look at the top.
Yeah, I know the sides have swapped. It's been a long day. We might be a little bit fatigued, but we'll try our best to just keep on at it. And I've got to say that even though 4 elements, and specifically, remind me, who was playing on the Legion last time around? Was it Sens or was it Chris?
I believe, well, Chris was playing Jaeger pretty much that whole way around, so I think it was Sens.
Yeah. Either way, whoever was playing the Legion last time around quite literally just served UMX Gaming the kitchen hatch on a silver platter. UMX decided, hey, thanks for the gift. We're going to use this for our execution. 4 elements is like, okay, cool, thanks. We'll just toss out a couple of nitro cells because, haha, you got jebaited. And that was the end of that story.
It absolutely was. It was a very short story with a bloody end. And right now, 4 elements are on their attacking half. 4-2 after their defensive split is respectable. And that's exactly what they needed. But they're going to need to do much more on their attack. The onus is on them. They need 3 rounds in this matchup to claim the win. And UMX are all hunkering down on site now after some early, I'd call it lurking, not necessarily roaming. And they're back in the safety of that basement.
On the side of UMX Gaming, Kutcher as well as Says, I've got a total of 4 impact grenades to work with. Trust me, it's more than enough to outright just deny 2 of those exothermic charges if they're going to be placed on the kitchen hatch and potentially also the church wall. So it's all down to Pangoro to make the ultimate decision. Where am I going to put down my heart-breaching utility? Although, the one thing that really strikes me as interesting is Lucania on the Capitao, an operator which we have yet to actually see thus far in this particular clubhouse match, and he could potentially be the silver bullet to just utterly dismantle the defensive setup of UMX.
Yeah, it's early to say it, but I think he's really onto something. Oh, a little bit of team damage there as Chris just face-checking and not aware of his teammate coming through Lounge. So Rubinshu's going to have to deal with the rest of this round sitting on around 60 or 70 health, rather. Unfortunate that, but these things happen and they move forward. We've got, once again, that free kitchen hatch for Pangoro, and the question is, where is that second exothermic charge going to go? He's got still 1 in pocket. I would imagine it's going to be on the church wall, as we don't see any kind of utility denial.
Oh, that's
denial,
true.
Rather,
yeah,
on the
you're
side
right.
Of UMX.
Oh, maybe they actually have a Maestro, because if you take a look at back armory, the far west, if they've got themselves like a little bit of soft breach, they could potentially put an Evil Eye and catch a very thin and tight angle onto that exothermic charge. So I would argue there is some breach denial in the form of Sez's Evil Eyes. It just depends on where they are placed. But we find ourselves in almost the exact same position as the previous round. Opening frag going the way of Sez before Chris immediately responds and is going to be the Maestro instead to pick up a triple onto Rubinshu. And now it's all down to Pangoro and Lucania to try to clutch out this 2v4 situation. Pangoro will find Rep in the mix of it, and he will also shut down Says. 5 seconds left, and now it's all down to Lucania, who doesn't even have Diffuser, and it's going to be Kutcher to find the last remaining attacker on the side of 4 Elements. UMX taking themselves a win on Basement, their first defensive win, and what a way to kick things off.
And that was something right there from UMX. 4-3 the scoreline now. They're closing that gap. As we get to see this wonderful replay, you see just the start of Kucha's reign of terror as the Maestro there. And then he continued on with that nice double kill down main. I want to highlight something there because we were talking about the sort of methods of denial for UMX. And I feel like we maybe overlooked a couple of things in that regard because, like you said, the Maestro Evilite on the sort of back of Armory does have a sliver of a possibility of denying that wall. It's a very slim one, and it relies on the Maestro being completely on the ball. But you also have the option of C4, and Valkyrie was playing in that pulse spot, in position to be able to throw out onto the church wall and catch not only any exothermic charge, but potentially a thermite or anyone lingering around there. You've also got the smoke canisters from Smoke himself. And there are ways that you can leverage those to deny thermite because of the way that it clips through the walls. So maybe there are things on UMX's list and in their sort of toolkit that they consider to be sort of ample protection for that church wall. Either that, or they're not particularly used to playing around these particular bans. I mean, Hibana and Maverick is an odd pairing, shall we say, for a clubhouse map, and it's not usual that you'll have practice on these particular bans, but who knows? Maybe they are well practiced. Either way, we're going to be moving forward to the cache and CCTV room site. As stated earlier, definitely the most hunker-downable of... well, no, not hunker-downable, actually. The church is more hunker-downable. We're inventing words, but it's statistically the best for the defense. And they'll be hoping to continue that trend on the defense here.
Oh, I'm going to recommend you to the Oxford Dictionary and the authors and publishers of that so you can try to pitch them your new word. But I would really like to commend UMX Gaming right here because they know clear as day that the moment they bring out a bandit is going to be immediately nullified by 4 elements. Obviously, actively bandit tricking simply isn't an option for UMX because of Lucania. If you can just place one of those asphyxiating bolts from the server window that is shared with construction, then, you know, your bandit batteries are going to be rendered completely useless. So instead, they're going to be bringing out an extra operator in the form of Henners on that Goyo, but suspended from the strip club run out will find Pangoro before he managed to get 1 exothermic charge, still 1 in his back pocket, but sadly, that's not on the table anymore.
That is a massive kill there from Suspended. He may well have just single-handedly won them that round with the difficulty that is going to be presented to 4 elements when it comes to gaining control of Catwalk. It's such an important position, and now without that exothermic charge, they have 1 less entry to Garage. Luckily, as you mentioned, he had done his job opening this breach. Chris is going to find Rep, and despite the knowledge of the Maestro there, the swing from Kucha is just better. And he takes 1 down. Lucania falling. Chris now falling as well. Sends on Rabinshu last alive. Suspended with a triple on the round, taking out the pistol. And I believe he's probably typing. Yep, there we go. Oh my days, he's dead. Rabinshu now last alive. 1 versus 4. And, I mean, Suspended has just torn this round apart for UMX.
There's no way to sugarcoat it at all, Jerry. He is probably the man of the hour, or at least the man of this round. Rabinshu, diffuser in hand, 40 seconds left on the clock. Sit this one out. Take the time to talk together with your team because there's probably nothing that you can do in this position. You're just going to be walking into your own coffin at this certain point. Literally all 4 gun barrels on the side of UMX are pointed in the general vicinity of your head. I mean, at this certain point, with 20 seconds left, it's going to take a miracle to win this one out. And even if you manage to get yourself a single frag, it's most likely going to be an impactless one.
It has to be onto Kez, right? Because he's the one holding that crossfire. And right now, with 11 seconds left, it's looking even less likely. He finally finds a pick onto the Maestro, but it is Kez that will be his undoing. There we go. Rabincho falling and Suspended. Just hats off to you, my man. You took that round and you put it in your pocket.
Nice. I like that one. I enjoyed that one. Good metaphor. Really, really
Well,
good stuff. But
there's the replay. We
obviously,
get to see how well
yeah.
the Maestro did that round in particular. Unfortunately, that second swing not working out for him. But it doesn't matter, because you're in a
No, not at
1v4
all.
or a 4 versus 1 with 10 seconds left, and you can afford to make that kind of mistake.
I mean, the thing that was so funny about Sez peaking is that he didn't have the element of surprise on his side, because
Yeah.
obviously the player that was rappelling over by the platform saw his gun barrel, had a decent idea of when he would go for the PK, could literally see that and prompt him the time to react and outright kill the Maestro. But still, like, goddamn, that's some really, really good stuff from Sez.
I think it was
Ba-
Kucher on the Maestro.
was it?
Yeah, Says was the one, or Kez was the one on
Oh,
routers.
my mistake. My mistake. I'm mixing
That's
up
fine.
things.
But yeah, here we are. 4 to 4 is the scoreline. And UMX, having completed a couple of successful defenses to start things off, they're going to be taking us to Gym for the first time in this map. And I'm intrigued at the absence of a castle on this lineup. Quite often,
Yeah.
very much a staple of this hold, but instead, we're seeing plenty of, well, 2 shields in the hands of the Goyo, and lots of drone denial, as well as, the ability for the defenders to drone for themselves in the name of the Echo.
I mean, don't get me wrong. To a certain degree, usually you'd consider Castle as a must pick in this particular scenario. Not only because if you castle off the gym window as well as the doorway, it gives you the possibility to actively bandit trick, which is something that UMX it's not really on the menu for tonight. They haven't really wanted to actively bandit trick a single time, but not only that, Castle is going to at least aid you in a sense that you will be allowed to roam freely, traverse the construction portion of the map freely until that castle barricade on the window has been dealt with.
They
And
clearly had no interest in holding Jacuzzi either, because otherwise you would
no,
see the castle and you'd see the bandit or at least a Kaid to try and hold that. But they just want to offer up Jim and that Jacuzzi wall potentially as a kill box for the
maybe.
defenders. But I mean, you forgo a lot of free time wasting as a defender
Exactly.
if you don't take control of that area. And right now, Pangoro's in position to now open up into bathroom as well and unseat this important anchor position.
Ooh.
But the impact grenade from the Echo is going to find that, and he's going to sit pretty for the rest of the round. While meanwhile, Sense at least picks up the opening frag for the attackers.
Ooh, Henner's almost losing his head, but Pangoro, he's probably gonna be kicking himself a bit in the butt for not being crouched while putting down that exothermic charge. Kutcher with 1 onto Lucania before being immediately refragged, and that's gonna be the thermite of Pangoro also losing his life in the process. It's now a 3v3 situation for 4 elements. They've got the HP advantage in UMX. They do have the right position to try to deny this, because I personally don't see 4 elements claiming control of bedroom. Chris will find a rep, Sense will also find 1 more, and it's all down to the Goyo of Henners. But sadly, that TCSG may have been his undoing instead of opting for the Vector, and unfortunately for UMX, they're going to be taking their first defensive loss on Jim and Cash. 4 elements claiming their first attacker victory as well.
That looked like it was a UMX round through and through, but we didn't get to see where the visual of Kucher was positioned in all of that. I believe it was Kucher on the visual. He is picking up the visual for this round as well, and that's my assumption. But I believe that he was perhaps a little too aggressive in that particular round and got himself caught out early on. Because in that 3 versus 3, it looked really like UMX held all the cards. They were holding the power position. They had denied the entry to bathroom, and all of the attackers were funneling in through the gym window and through that jacuzzi breach. These were all angles and avenues that the defenders had a purview on, and not only that, but they had intel on it, like that Goyo shield, and there was, I believe, a Maestro camera. So. Bit of the feed is fine right now. We're just waiting for Smoke Henners to load in. He was appearing to have some sort of loading issues as he did load onto that Tachanka quite late. So I'm not quite sure. Maybe he tabbed out or something by mistake and got auto picked onto the Tachanka. But either way, he's back in the mix of things. And we're just waiting for him to load. So Church and Arsenal is going to be the next point of contact for defenders. And I think, yeah, honestly, we saw, for instance, that drone just in the final 1v3, even before it was a 1v3.
Yeah.
We saw the Goyo pushing up with the TCSG and immediately being spotted out by the drone. So you knew as soon as he was going to go into that gunfight that he would be at the disadvantage, and the kill board lit up in favor of the attackers, and it just looked dire at that point. And yeah, I'm honestly surprised, and I think UMX Gaming probably just played that a little bit too aggressively in the dying moments.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if aggressively is the correct terminology. I would argue that 4 elements were jumping the gun, and they somehow managed to take the fight directly to UMX Gaming, despite UMX holding on to all of the cards, as you stated in that round through and through. And the one argument and the one fact that I'm going to bring up to solidify that statement is that in the worst case scenario, if 4 elements were down and very low on time and they still managed to work their way into the bomb site, you had Henners on that Goyo with a nitro cell in his back pocket who could have denied the plant from down below. That would have technically been a win for UMX Gaming through and through, but this one is looking a little bit worse for wear, as Suspended is the first casualty of the round, and 4 elements already right off the bat dealing with the one and only roamer on the side of UMX.
He's had a mixed game so far, Suspended. There was that one round where he popped off and got 3 kills, and besides that, for someone who's been playing Ash and Jaeger, you expect maybe he'd be picking up some more of those entry frags or those roaming early picks, and at the moment he's had a quiet one. But looking at Kucha's stats, he's been the one to really show up for UMX Gaming. As I say that, Rep is going to be down in this advanced position of blue and finished off by the Firebolt of Lucania. And this is what we were saying earlier. This Capital could be the real key to unpick UMX Gaming's defense. And they're going to be smoking off that rotate, which will allow them a full entry into deep of Arsenal. And Pez shuts down the first entry, but he's immediately taken out. And now the attackers have full control. Rabinchu finding that kill, and now he will stick the diffuser down. Kucha and Henners the last alive, and there's the flank from Henners coming through the smoke, but he's caught out again. They're being shut down by Lucania. Now it's all up to Kucha in the 1 versus 3. He has hard pings and intel. The double kill from the Vigil, and the diffuser plant is denied as Chris comes off of it. Top fraggers on both sides now. God. That's incorrect. Oh, but the frag comes through, and Kucha just reacts in time. Not cooked well enough. And now Grizz is attempting a plant in the very deep side of Arsenal. Got time. Will succeed in this plant. Now Kucha can move forward, using that scanner to detect, to evade the detection of the drones, but the hard pings are coming out in his favor. He has to find a bullet or two onto the sledge. In fact, probably more at this point, but he pops up for the reload. And that's the moment that Chris says, no, sir, I'm going to smack you down, deny you that clutch. 4 elements up 5-5.
Oh my goodness.
They're not up 5-5.
No, it's 6-4. It's match point 4 elements. And oh my god, they did such a commendable job for claiming control of the entire bomb site, but UMX, and especially the likes of Henners and Kutcher, literally doing their absolute best to move the heavens and the earth itself to get their team out of boiling water, and they just fell short. So very short. It could have literally been the clutch of a lifetime. But just fat fingering that crouch button, popping your head up while you were trying to get the reload, sadly didn't do him any favors. It was so unfortunate, and for UMX Gaming, that is bound to be very disheartening.
It is, but for 4 elements, they are looking to turn what has been a sordid few days. Losing out at the end of the Clutch tournament, losing out at the end of the Benelux bi-weeklies, they want to get a good start to the weekend. They want to find themselves a win, and they are so close to it right now. 6-4 on Clubhouse is where we're at, and that was a bit close for comfort for them. They were very astute in their take, making sure that they cleared out Kez on that Maestro inside of Arsenal, giving themselves full sight control and really only having to watch a couple of angles, but it started to fall apart. There was a very nice attempt at the retake there from UMX, and it almost went in their favor. I mean, it was, just that final mistake from the Vigil ended up costing them, but hopefully for UMX, they can see the positives in that round, the way they were able to retake and work from there moving forward. UMX right now, sitting on a cash defense, and Lucania, who's been the one to bring the kind of wild card, whether it be the Capital or other operators during the course of this game, going to be flexing onto the Monty for this take.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with UMX not bringing themselves a bandit a single time throughout their entire defensive run, yes, you can still put Capitao to good use, but you'll primarily want him on the table so you can dislodge that bandit. And opting to choose the Monty instead is going to mean that UMX are going to have a much more tougher time with actually holding on to the garage. So with Lucania already creeping his way up the staircase and feeding them live information of exactly Rep's whereabouts, who's inside lower garage, and he's trying to directly contest 4 elements despite our better judgment, is buying his team some time, but I'm pretty sure that he's just as good as dead at a certain point.
Well, he might not be, because he managed to get that impact trick on the...
oh yeah, he did get the impact on the garage, that's true.
Yeah, so he's actually sitting all right here, but I say that, and Caster's Curse will strike once more as he's finally finished off at range. Was kind of trapped in a corner there, and now so is Kez as he's being walked down on by Lucania, but Suspended lights up the scoreboard with a double kill of his own, and Pangoro and Kez pick up another 3 versus 2, and Pangoro the only gun alive on the attacking side as the ADS comes out from Monty. It doesn't really work out. Pangoro at least finding Suspending and shutting down his raid of terror. Now, somehow, Kez escapes below, and this is a power position. How is he being allowed to do this? Kucha is sitting above, and Pangoro now is approaching, trying to take down the one remaining anchor. He sees the gun barrel, but it's not quick enough. The stuns come out, and that might have full flashed the Maestro, but he doesn't know. He's going to send another one just for good measure, and a third too. But the question is, where is Kez right now? Is he flanking up Garage, or is he flanking up Main? It looks like he's actually managed to rejoin inside of sight, and the diffuser is going to be planted here. Comes off of it. Kez taking a lot of damage from Pangoro. Now, the Heckfire does not work out for the Monty, and he's sprayed down by the Maestro. 17 seconds left. It's all on Pangoro in the 2 versus 1. Kez taking a lot of damage there, but Pangoro is going to try and come through the rotate. Looks as though this is being watched. He destroys the Goyo shield. Got the pistol out. He has to land some shots. He gets 1. Triple kill on the round. Can he make it a quad for the win? No, he can't. UMX Gaming somehow survive that, and they push us to match point still. 6-5. We're going all the way here.
That came down to the wire, and it was... I don't even know what's the right word to describe it. I mean, it was messy. It was a whole roller coaster of emotions, and it was all up in the air. I wouldn't be able to tell you with a straight face who could have risen victorious in that entire round. It could have been anybody's game, and at the end of the day, UMX, they are clawing their way back. They are genuinely just crawling their way back into it, and this time around, they're going to be moving off to Church and Arsenal to try to pull things out to a draw.
Wowie. I think we've been somewhat, I want to say, tranquilized by the early 7-0s that we saw here today.
Yeah.
I'm just not set up for this excitement. It's 6-5, and we're all the way at the final round, and already after 2 rounds, this was the closest match we'd seen today.
Without a shadow of a doubt. 100%. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong. Even though that this match is extraordinarily exciting, there are still so many bizarre plays that leave me extremely confused and perplexed and befuddled and kerfuddled to the point that I just can't follow exactly what's going on half the time.
It's been a real roller coaster ride, this clubhouse, hasn't it? I think it's been a very exciting one, to say the least. So, let's get ourselves set up here. Get strapped in for the final round here on Club. UMX Gaming and 4 Elements have really shown us what they're all about on this map. And I'm glad to see some newcomers really step it up, as well as these established members of the ACS to come back and bring the pain like we know they can. So
there is something that I desperately need to touch on. It was a really costly mistake that UMX had made in the previous round. You know, do you remember who was the first casualty in their previous basement defense? It was a player that was hunkering down over by blue, and they lost their life to the pressure that Four Elements was exerting from the dirt tunnel. And the reason they were able to exert all of that pressure is because it remained uncontested. This time around, UMX, they are making that adaptation and they are correcting that mistake. If I caught it correctly in the corner of my eye, Henners is sitting inside of dirt tunnel, hiding behind a deployable shield with 3 toxic babes in his hand to just outright put Four Elements to a grinding halt in case they try to go for that construction push. And
He
this
has to be dealt with.
yeah, he has to be dealt with, but this hand-in-hand solidifies the fact that the player on the side of UMX Gaming who was playing inside of blue at least gets to hang on to dear life for that much longer instead of just dying within the span of 30 seconds, as had happened so previously.
Looks as though in the meantime Hennes is back out of construction, but he can still exert influence from Armory. He's, I suppose, convinced now that Pangora and co aren't going to be pressuring dirt, and so that's just a nice little anchor point for the defenders, that little doorway inside of Armory and dirt. And 1 minute 9 seconds left, still 5 aside, and we're finally seeing some pressure into blue from Sens as a Zofia. No Capital this time round, interestingly enough, despite the fact that that was pivotal to their success the first time. So, interesting adaptation here from Four Elements. I wonder whether it will actually cost them in the long run.
I mean, potentially. The main use that I can see out of Lucania is trying to get rid of those black guys coming out from rep, or potentially find the Vigil as well, but a cluster of frags coming out going the way of Four Elements as they have waltzed their way into the bomb site. It's all down to Kuchera and Henners in the 2v4 situation. But what is this? Diffuser is so very far away from home. It seems as if Four Elements just forgot the most important thing that this game revolves around, but it matters not. They don't need a Diffuser to win. They're just gonna go straight up fragging, and they will shut down UMX to close off this clubhouse matchup 7-5.
So what an incredible round there from Four Elements. We didn't get to see as much of that as we'd have liked, but clearly the pressure in from Dirt Tunnel just making all the difference. You saw the Jaeger get completely swarmed with bullets, pinched out from both that oil pit and the Dirt Tunnel positions, and it was the same kind of attack yet again for Four Elements. They swept in through blue, through Dirt Tunnel, took control of Armory with aplomb, and found themselves in a 4 versus 2. It didn't matter that they left Diffuser out, really, because they found themselves in a position where the defenders were so choked up inside of Church that, you know, they had to take those fights. UMX really had to assume that the Diffuser was going down, and it's unfortunate they didn't know that it wasn't, because maybe they could have played that a little bit more passively. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, and you got to give credit to Four Elements for really nailing that particular attack, knowing that the Thermite ban, or the Thermite being the only one unbanned, I should say,